$5 and give me two. Sugar babe, it's all over now. Went downtown and bought me a rope, whooped my baby till she buzzed low. Sugar babe, it's all over now. Sugar babe, what's the matter with you? You don't treat me like you used to do. Sugar babe, it's all over now. Hey guys, great to see you. Welcome back to another lesson. So what you heard me playing there was a simplified version of a song by Mance Lipscomb called Sugar Babe. It's a great little song, and I wanted to do this to help people out there who are trying to get that alternating bass type of blues going, right? Whereby you have that alternating bass, but you have like a basic melody at the same time as the bass, right? And that can vary in terms of its complexity. So we're going to keep things very, very simple today, because what we're looking to do is to just be able to do the basics. And this is going to be part one of a two-part lesson. In part two, we're going to be looking at what we can do with that melody and how we can increase the complexity of something. But it's very, very important that we just get this basic part down before we even think about that. Now, for example, what we need to start out doing, if we haven't done this type of thing before, is just play the bass notes, right? And not worry too much about the melody, because what you will have noticed if you listen to the intro when I was playing is that when I'm singing a verse, very often I'm just playing the bass notes. I may well put in one or two additional notes, but you can just play the bass notes whilst you're singing and then bring the melody in when there's a break and there's no lyrics. That's a great way to go with these type of things. And in fact, that's what many of these great players did, you know. Some of them admittedly just carried on with the melody whilst they were singing. But this is something that I want to help you come to terms with, really. So the song in itself is very straightforward. As I say, there are only three chords. We've got an E major chord. Now, rather than us playing, say for example, a standard E chord like this, which you will see me doing when I play this song because it's just a habit, you can just use a two-finger E shape like that, where you're playing the third string on the first fret and the fourth string on the second, okay? It means our fingers aren't so cramped when we're adding those additional melody notes. So that's one point worth mentioning. So we have that E chord, we have an A major chord, and we have a B7 chord. And I'm sure many of you all know those chords already. If you don't, as you can see, they're up there anyhow, all right? So what I'd like to do is to talk you through the bass notes to start with. Like I say, that's a great starting point, especially if you haven't done this type of thing before. All right, so let me do that as a starting point, as I say. So what we're going to do is we're going to fret this two-finger E chord and we're going to play 6/4. And that's the first little thing that we want to be able to do. Now, when we transition to the A chord, we want that to be as smooth as possible. And if it isn't to start with, don't worry too much. With practice, it will get smooth, right? Now, when we move to the A chord, we switch the bass to 5/4 rather than 6/4, right? Then we go back to our E chord, back to the 6/4. And then when we go to our B7 chord, it gets a little more complicated, because effectively what we're doing is we're playing 5/4-6/4. So it's like a Travis picked bass. But additionally, our middle finger moves from the 5th string to the 6th string, because that echoes what we're doing in the bass. So it goes like this. 5, 4, move the middle finger to the 6th string, 6, 4, 5, 4, 6, 4, and back to the E, 6, 4. So like I say, this is something that we can do whenever we're singing. And if you can just add an additional note, it doesn't really matter what it is. Say for example, we're playing an E chord, right? We can just go. Doesn't really matter. All we're trying to do is to educate our fingers into being able to do something, because very often they just want to freeze and do nothing because we're so focused on keeping that bass steady. Right now, you'll notice, like I say, the beginning of the lesson, by and large, when I'm singing, I'm just going, all I want my babe to do is have $5 and give me 2, sugar babe. It's all over now. Okay, so you can hear, apart from the bass, it's very, very minimal. Now, like I say, when the singing stops, we can then go. And begin our melody, right? So we can think of this in 2 stages, the bass stage and then bringing the melody in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring up the tabs on screen and I'm going to walk you through the arrangement very, very slowly. Because this is, like I say, the very first step. And then once you've got this nailed, when we come back in part 2, we're going to be covering an awful lot of ground. So it's very important that you get this part of the lesson down as well as you possibly can. Now, one particular thing which people find very difficult when they start doing this type of stuff, if you see for this first line that we're going to look at, we're using the E chord, as you can see, and it starts out with this note in the bass, the 6th, right, that's the first note, as you can see, and the second note is this open 3rd string. And then that's a hammer on. So we're going to go open and then onto the 1st fret. But what we've also got to think about is adding that bass note, right, on the 2nd fret of the 4th string. So it sounds like this. Now this is something you want to be really kind of comfortable with, because you're going to come across this a great deal with this type of music, where you have the steady bass with this little hammer-on figure tying in with a bass note. And it sounds like this. Okay? So that's what you're looking to do. Now let's move on and play the whole of the E section, nice and slowly. Not too difficult, right? You can definitely do this, guys. Just bear that in mind. It's only practice. Let's go again. Same line, same speed. Now what we're looking for is a nice smooth transition into the A chord, where we have the same hammer-on deal. Okay, so we're looking for that. That's the hammer-on, but we've got to play it with the bass note. So it sounds like this. Okay, so let's do the whole of the A section nice and slow. One more time. Then we just repeat the E section. Then we come to the B7 section, which is a little more tricky. It sounds like this. Okay, nice and slow. Let me play it for you again. Then we end with the E. Now that's all we're looking to do, guys. All right, we want to keep it real nice and simple. And if we can do that, it's job done, right? You will have achieved what we're set out to do. So take your time, enjoy the journey. That is the most important thing. It's going to keep you coming back and keep you practicing, enjoying the practice. And when we come back with part 2 for this, you're going to learn quite a lot of detail about how we refine a piece and how we can take it to another level. Okay, so what I'd like to do to finish with is to run through the whole verse section so you can hear it all in context, because it's just as important to hear these things as it is to see them, right? I personally always found tabs to be a little bit kind of difficult in a sense, because I was much more learnt things by ear than visually looking at a tablature. That being said, they definitely have their place, and for some people, you know, that's the way they learn quicker. So that's why I include both of these on these lessons, all right? So let's go again, and let's go nice and slowly, and you will now have this as a reference point, so when you're practicing, you'll know kind of how it should sound. And don't worry if there's, you know, a few different notes in my version at the beginning. That's really not the point. The point is that you just learn what I'm showing you here. As I say, there's going to be plenty of time for refining and adding notes and taking notes away and playing different things. That's all to come in part 2. But for now, let me play you this version nice and slowly in its entirety. That's it, guys. That's all we're looking to do. So make sure you enjoy the journey. I look forward to seeing you with part 2 soon. And in the meantime, you take care.